The team of warriors lost their head in the last part of the movie. Guts, one of the members, returns to the team and learns the head Griffin is in prison. Guts goes all the way to rescue his lost friend, but their friend becomes a demon. Will the team survive? A year after the duet between Griffin and Guts, the Hawks have been labeled outlaws in Midland, and Griffin has been tortured till he is all bone. He lays there seeing and imagining some creatures calling out for him. The Hawks become slaves, and they hide at the outlaws of Midland. One night, the enemies attack them, and Casca fights, but she is subdued. The general asks her to surrender, or he will cut off her head after the count of 3. As the general counts 3, Casca expects her head to be gone, but she is shocked to see Guts saves her. Guts fights the enemy for them, after which he asks about Griffin. He is told that Griffin has to be taken captive for about a year. Corcus, still angry with Guts, refuses to follow his order. He says he would never follow someone who leaves them when they need him the most. Casca takes Guts to the mountain and challenges him to a fight. Guts don't draw his sword. Fighting him, Casca says he is the primary cause of how their band has become, as Griffin felt he couldn't survive without Guts. Guts is shocked to hear this. He allows Casca to injure him. Casca tells him she should have known she would not be able to fill his void. She says now that he is back, she is leaving, so she threatens to fall off the cliff, but Guts saves her. As he saves her, she calls him an idiot. She says he always gets injured because of her. They end it with a kiss, and they have intercourse with each other. After the fun time, Casca asks if Guts will stay with them. After he recuses Griffin, he refuses to stay. He asks Casca to follow him when he is leaving. He tells her to go with him because she is all he thinks of daily and nightly. They hug each other passionately and sleep off. That night, Guts hears steps as though someone is walking toward them. He stands up and takes his sword. A monster-like creature speaks to him on a horse. The creature says he knows someone like him will come and give him some admonishing words that he can't understand. The creature turns back its horse and leaves. The Hawks set off to save Griffin. They have been told they will meet a person in the hole. As they get there, they meet the princess who leads them around the hole. The hole is so long that Guts has to ask when it is ending. The princess tells them the hole is established by a legendary king who fights with Skull's head. Guts isn't interested, so he asks her what the story has to do with the hole, and the queen tells her it is history. They get down the hole, see several human skulls, and see Griffin lying lifeless. They can't recognize him. Guts is the first person who goes closer. He tells Casca it isn't Griffin, but when Griffin mentions his name, he knows who it is. He hugs Griffin as he cries. The torturer appears and tells them they are all stuck there, as there will be no way for them to leave. Guts asks if it is the torturer who did that to Griffin. The torturer laughs. He tells them he breaks the tendons of his legs and hands, strips him of his skin, and even keeps his tongue as a gift. Guts gets angry. He attacks the torturer, cuts off his tongue, then kills him. The Midland fights back, but the Hawks keep Griffin on a horse and ride with him. The Midland army closes the borders, but the Hawks can get through. They also ambush them, but they successfully get to the bush. Corcus thinks Griffin is well. He celebrates with the other army as they scream that their leader is back. Judo gives reports of Griffin's health to Casca. He tells her due to his broken tendons, Griffin may not be able to walk or hold a sword again. Casca delivers this message to the Hawks, who are in disbelief. They ask to talk with Griffin, but they are told he can no longer speak. They ask Casca to be their leader, and she asks for some time to decide. Guts gets angry at her and approaches her. He asks if she is no longer leaving with him. She tells him the Hawks need a head, and she will not leave them when they need her because she can't do such to Griffin. Griffin watches them as they talk. The Hawks also come to ask Guts for his leadership. Casca goes to change Griffin's bandages. She cries as she looks at him. Griffin jumps at her and lays on her. She holds him to rest, and after he sleeps, she leaves the room. As she gets to Guts in tears, she tells Guts she can't leave Griffin in that state, and she will not be able to follow Guts. Griffin overhears them. As he thinks about their words, he sees a lady with a ray of light that he has always seen in prison. He drives the horse to follow the lady. The Hawks run after him immediately. He drives himself to a river and seeks to kill himself. He stabs himself with a sharp tree in the river. As he falls in the river, he finds his bell height. As he gains his flesh back little by little, the Hawks arrive. An eclipse of the sun occurs, and it transports all of them to a different dimension. The 4 angels who defeat the legendary Skull King arrive. They claim that Griffin is part of them. Gut draws his sword to attack them. He says they know Griffin, he doesn't have tails, and he can't be part of them. The demons call God's hand and laugh at him. They tell him that day is Griffin's advent and he is the one with the bell height, and all other people there will be used as sacrifices for Griffin's advent. A mountain builds under Griffin. Since Guts is holding Griffin, the mountain carries him too. He falls off and Griffin gets to the demons. They tell him the mountain of corpses that carries him is the corpse of everyone he has killed in battle, and he needs just a few more corpses to join God's hands. They reassure him if he joins them, all he wishes for will be actualized. All he needs to do is accept to sacrifice his band, and he will become a member of God's hands. Griffin accepts. Immediately he does. The mountain closes him in like a hand. Guts keeps fighting the enclosed hands. He insists he will save Griffin, as Griffin isn't a monster like them. The hawks below the mountain are given the sign of sacrifice, and they are to be killed by monsters like Zod. Judo protects Casca. He rushes his life to save hers. Most of the band are killed. Guts remains on the mountain, and the demons of God's hands tell him Griffin made a deliberate decision to join them. Guts fights with the demon till he gets down the mountain. As he gets down, he sees the corpses of almost all his band. He screams and calls out for Casca, but she is not there. He sees Pippins, but he is cut into pieces and eaten by one of the monsters. The monsters surround him. Griffin, who has become Femto, the Master of Darkness, brings Casca to Guts' presence. Griffin ties her in ropes, molests her, fingers her, and rapes her. Guts can't watch it. In an attempt to help Casca, one of the monsters cuts off his hands, and they also stabbed one of his eyes. As Femto is done, he sends them back to the world, and the mountain welcomes him. 4 days later, Guts becomes conscious. He finds himself with Ricketts, one of the hawks. Ricketts asks what happened, but Guts can't explain. He asks for Casca. Casca runs away from him. She doesn't recognize him. Casca has become mentally unstable following the rape incident. Guts leaves Casca in the care of Rickett as he thinks about all the memories he has with the band of hawks. That night, he is attacked by monsters. He realizes that since he has the mark of sacrifice, he will be attacked by creatures seeking his life until he dies. He fights back and embarks on a journey to hunt down God's hand so he can kill Griffin. Thank you for watching the recap. Please subscribe to our channel so you may get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.